everybody, Chris Gallagher here. This is Wednesday in the Word right here on the Preacher's Pen. I'm glad that you're here. Today we're going to be looking at Psalm 51. And what is so unique about Psalm 51, at least to me, is that Psalm 51 is written after David's sin with Bathsheba. Now, that's what many people will always remember about Psalm 51. However, can we change that just for a moment? I'm not saying that's not the case, because there's a lot in Psalm 51 as you begin at the beginning, where David says, "Have mercy on me, O God, according to your steadfast love, according to your abundant mercy, blot out my transgressions, wash me thoroughly from my iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin." David says, "I know my transgressions, and my sins are ever before me." I want you to think about David for a moment, and I want you to think about David in his spiritual condition. Not only did David sin, but David is a broken man. David is a man that we read about in the book of Acts that says he's after God's own heart. We think about two stories concerning David, typically. We think about David and Goliath, where the little boy beat up the big bully, and we think about David's sin with Bathsheba. However, let us not forget about David and his brokenness. You see, there's a lot of people in the world today that are broken. And I'm not saying you're broken. I'm saying there's a lot of people that are. There's a lot of people that are discouraged. You know, you think whether or not to wear a mask, or you forget your mask, or how many masks, or how much hand sanitizer do I use, or what am I supposed to do? And people many times will look at the external circumstances and they'll go to the wrong place. They'll turn on the news to try to find the answers. They'll go to their favorite blog, or they'll go to their favorite podcast, or maybe even here. But what we know about things is this. As we look in the Bible was written for our learning. We find that in John chapter 20. We find that in Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. And the question that I would have for you this afternoon is simply this. Where have you gone? You know, David, in his absolute brokenness and in his turmoil and in his traumatic decisions, a decision that's going to cost not only the life of Bathsheba, the life of the husband of Bathsheba, but is also going to take the life of his firstborn child with Bathsheba. There's a problem. So David, in his brokenness, he realizes that he's broken, but that he has to do something about that. So where's David going to go? David goes to God. And if you read about what David tells God, and he tells him some things. He praises God for his abundant mercy and his ability to look at David, but David reflects upon his own life. If you have some time, read Psalm 51 this evening or this afternoon or here in the next few days. Because David says this, he says, "Against you only have I sinned," knowing that God was the true person he had sinned against. Yeah, he sinned against Bathsheba, and he sinned against Uriah. He sinned against all those, but David knows that he sinned against God. And that is the ultimate person. David goes on and he says, "God, I know that you delight in truth and in the inward being. You teach wisdom in the secret heart." David knows who God is. But I want you to notice what he asks God to do. Now, if you truly want to make a change in your life and you're broken, you need to be like David. You need to seek God with all of your heart. But at the same time, you need to look at what David says. David goes to God, and David wants a full cleansing. David wants full cleansing, full compassion, and full mercy from God. And why? Because he knows that God will give it. Do you want a new start to your day? Have you felt like there's things in your past that you can't get over? Maybe things in somebody else's past that you can't get over. Maybe it's the time that you turn to God and you see where God truly wants you to be. Notice what David says. It says, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow. Let me hear joy and gladness. Let the bones that you have broken rejoice. Hide your face from my sins, and blot out my transgressions. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from your presence, and take not your Holy Spirit from me. Restore me to the joy of your salvation, and uphold me with a willing spirit." David asked God for 10 things. To purge him, to wash him, to hide his face from the sins, to blot out the iniquities, to create a clean heart, to renew a right spirit, to cast David not away, and not to take the Holy Spirit from him, but to restore him and to uphold him. And David says this. He says, and I will teach transgressors your ways, and sinners will return to you. I think I might know why David says that. If you truly want to talk about healing, true healing starts when you help somebody that's been in your condition. Have you been in David's condition? Have you been broken? Has your life been turned upside down? Well, maybe it's time that you come to God. Maybe it's time you go to him and you ask God to create in you a new heart, a right spirit, and you ask God to cleanse you from that, and you begin teaching the people around you. If you want to make a difference in the life of somebody else, look at yourself first. Look at where you've been. If you're broken, go to God. If you have been broken, if you've been broken in the past, make sure that somebody else knows that God is the true answer. Spend some time reading Psalm 51 this week, and I think that you'll be blessed in that. But thank you for being here once again. My name's Chris Gallagher, and thank you for being part of the Preacher's Pen Wednesdays in the Word. Have a blessed day.